Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal astrology forecast for the week of September 27th through October 3rd, 2021. All right, so this week we have a lot going on astrologically. Let's just do a quick overview of what we've got this week. So first of all, Mercury is going to be going retrograde here around Monday, and this is starting the next 3 weeks of going back and redoing some things, maybe re-reflecting on some things. And it's just all in all good to be flexible during the retrograde because information's changing and things are changing. And the more we are willing to learn, try new things and experiment, but have a plan A, B, C, and D in the process, is a great way of working with the retrograde. We often do learn a lot from it, and we really do gain a different perspective. So good around Monday, just kind of pause with things and allow for some of that reworking process, which is just getting started. A lot of aspects this week, most of them concentrated towards the middle to later part of the week. The most important being is that Mercury retrograde is going to square Pluto again. And so now that Mercury is moving backwards, it's going to square over Pluto. The last time we had this was back just last Wednesday on September 22nd. And this is about really getting into that deeper side of our mind. So what are some things that maybe we can uncover about ourselves, maybe about life? Using that kind of excavation, bringing deep things to the surface, and also in regards to communication as well. Maybe there's some empowering things regarding communication that could be implemented. But again, being adaptive and flexible and learning in the process is a great way of working with that deep mind and potentially deep communication. All right, and then the next most important thing is that we are ending this current lunar cycle this month, this week. As we approach next week, we'll have a new moon early next week. So starting the week, though, it is very good for action and initiative with that reflective Mercury retrograde. But as the week ends, we start to get into the ending phase. So it is good to let the energies die down and maybe complete things from this lunar cycle and set those intentions around completion and maybe creating a bit of space for those new beginnings, which will be next week. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this as well as all the other aspects we have here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, September 27th, and looking at this using the visible sky. As you can see here, we are using the uneven size of the constellations, which is very different from mainstream astrology. So the signs will be different from what you're used to hearing. And so if you are new to the channel, definitely check out that link down below for more information. All right, so a lot going on this week, very busy astrologically. I'll do my best to break this down in the most simplifying sense so we can focus on the most important way of working with these aspects. Now, before we do, let's do a bit of a recap to see where everything is coming into this week. We still have a lot of planets in Virgo, and so the Sun, Mars, and now Mercury retrograde here. And Virgo is very much about improvement, so it's still a great week as it has been, for seeing if there are some problems we can solve, some things we can fix, some things we can embed. And of course, it makes it great for personal development, health, routines, work, service, anything we do on a day-to-day level towards that refinement and improvement. And and focusing on what we do have control over, which is Virgo, which is usually ourselves and our health and development, personal development. But anything that does require getting into that analytical side of improvement, refinement, getting into the details of things to fix, solve problems, very good way of working with this cycle. And I think very good intentions to set this week continuing. Now, Venus has been in Libra since last week. So in this context, there are themes around relationship balance. Venus is in domicile here, really enjoys to be here. So it is about enjoying a bit of that fairness and reciprocity in our relationship life, in all relationships. How can we come to mutual agreement, do what's fair, right, and just? These are things that can, aside from being enjoyable with Venus, just a really good way of incorporating that side of ourself, right? What is balanced, fair, mutual, collaborative, especially when it deals one-on-one in that sense. And all this can be a great way of connecting in our relationships, and we'll probably know some themes around this coming to agreement as we continue that short transit of Venus and Libra. All right, so those are the fast-moving planets, most important ones. we are coming into this week in the third quarter phase of the cycle, which is a square phase, which is usually about taking action towards whatever insights we gained from the last full moon. Now, the last full moon was about a week ago, since Monday, and any insights from last week you've wanted to implement, it makes it a very constructive early part of the week to do so. Now, the third quarter is much easier than the first quarter in the sense that we are already quite seasoned into this lunar cycle. We've been in this lunar cycle for 3 weeks, so it's not like as challenging as when we come up to the first square. But so we're usually willing to put in the work, willing to take that action and build things. And again, it could be a very constructive early part of the week. All right, so let's go ahead and break down these aspects here. Again, perhaps the most important thing here is that Mercury is station retrograde coming into Monday. And so even approaching Monday, there is this pause energy, right? Mercury stopped in the sky relative to the constellations. So good to take a little bit of a pause, right? So maybe with the routine stuff, maybe with work, maybe with some of this improvement stuff with Virgo, right? And just kind of sit with the energy and see what is starting to shift. And what it's starting is going to be the next 3 weeks of starting to re-look at things from a different perspective, right? And think a little outside the box, maybe try a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If there's anything you have been working on for the past few months, good time to go back and rethink, maybe go back and re-edit, redo during this 3 weeks to again learn and to look at things from that different perspective, because we do learn a lot during the retrograde Mercury, and it is good to try new things. We can discover things and maybe even reshape things in a way that is in Virgo embedded, right, or improved. So good to just pause the early part of the week, see what is shifting with that perspective. But as we go through the rest of the week, anything that does require a bit of trying new things and being flexible and adaptive in the process with any plans or anything, is usually quite important there with that Mercury retrograde. But not a time of sitting back. Once Mercury is retrograde, oftentimes we hear in astrology that things should be avoided during a retrograde, but that's not the case. Implement, get your feet wet, get dirty with things, but in such a way that you have other plans or other ways to adapt to the situations, as they often do change during the retrograde, hence the learning energy about it. All right, now the moon will be in Taurus on Monday, so good to just maybe enjoy some of the natural world, a good meal, maybe some nature, staying quite grounded. That might be a bit of a backdrop to the day on Monday. Now, once we do get to Tuesday and Mercury starts to build a little bit of momentum, the moon will start to go into Gemini. And so for pretty much all the way up until the second half of Thursday, so Tuesday and Wednesday in particular, we will have the moon here in what is Mercury's sign. And so great to learn, right? Great to use the mind, and maybe even some things involving sharing or exchanging with others. So communication, again, learning, maybe some of that reciprocity with the Libra, moon trining Venus, right? Some of that air energy, which is mind and relating kind of energy, gaining and sharing information. It's a great way of working with this placement for pretty much this early part of the week. Now, once we do get to Wednesday, we start to feel a lot of these aspects that are concentrated again, to this middle to later part of the week. First of all, the one that will come on the most immediately will be these two, Venus trine Neptune and the Sun trine Saturn. So quite supportive aspects. Venus trine Neptune, maybe it's just easier to be a bit compassionate, a little bit receptive in relating, and just in general, more willing to go with the flow or enjoying it, or maybe enjoying a little bit of space or even alone time or creative energy. It's more subtle energy that can be great for our personal and interpersonal lives. But it's also quite grounded as well. The Sun trining Saturn can actually make a very productive day. So anything, again, with that Virgo energy regarding work or service or your day-to-day routines, but anything long-term you want to build towards or have been building towards, we do have the support to do so, particularly around Wednesday going into Thursday. But this is also the time where that Mercury will start to get within orb of that square to Pluto. And because Mercury is just building momentum, it is really dragging out this square with Pluto, which is pretty much in orb all the way until we get to Sunday. So with this, again, it is the deep mind and deep communications, usually what results from this. So with intention, it's a great time of excavating, bringing deep things to surface, whether it's research, whether it's psychology stuff, healing stuff for ourselves to understand more about our own fears or wounds or traumas, maybe understand more about them, maybe face some of those fears, which can actually be quite empowering this week. But externally as well, learning about the world or the esoteric or the hidden, and possibly communicating this deeper perspective, because our minds are in the underworld, right? And when our minds are in the underworld, we're going to communicate in this way as well. So with conscious intention, what are some deeper communications we can have? Maybe sharing about some of this deeper stuff we're reflecting on. With Mercury square Pluto is great, discussing things like what's hidden or psychology or healing type of stuff. But in this sense too, if there are any fears we can face regarding empowerment, to communicate, saying something that might need to be said, but again, with conscious intention, because the challenge with squares is that we usually tend to go to extremes as a default. And the default with Pluto might be a bit harsh or too deep or too defensive even, right? So it's vulnerable energy, and we can either protect or we can engage, with that vulnerability. So we do want to make sure it's done constructively. And so in this sense, I think, things like depth, like trust and intimacy in our communication process is great. Communicating in a way that we're sharing this deeper view or talking about these deeper things in a way that's mutual and reciprocating. And then it becomes very constructive. So this is going to be, again, lasting this pretty much middle to later part of the week. It will go exact here around Friday, but constructively using the deep mind and the deep communications towards empowerment, towards balanced truth, right? Yet with mindfulness and conscious awareness, just to make sure that we're not going too deep, let's say, or too protective, let's say, where we are engaging into the deeper worlds and communications constructively. All right, so yeah, we start to feel that, but it gets strongest here around the Friday time period. Now, also as we start to approach Friday, so this Thursday time period, we have some more aspects. Venus will be squaring up to Jupiter. So this is an easy planet. Jupiter, the square usually tends towards any swings of imbalance. So anything relating that might be over optimistic or under optimistic, or over hopeful or under hopeful, it is good to, again, be mindful of that with this square and doing things that are healthfully enjoyable. Usually with Venus square Jupiter, we might maybe, eat that food we don't really want to eat, but we're doing it because we feel good, and so why not? Or we might do that thing that we enjoy, but it's really not that healthy for us. Or spend the money that we really don't need to. So staying balanced with that pendulum swing with the enjoyments, with relationships, and anything that we value, really. And in this way, it becomes very constructive. It's a great time for discussing philosophies, higher perspectives on life, maybe a bit of adventurousness as well. So expanding our mental and literal horizons constructively. So towards maybe, philosophy, meaning of life, maybe larger picture goals in life. Things like this can be very constructive with the Venus square. And then, yes, so Friday, we get to that strong energy with Mercury square Pluto. This is also where Mars will be opposite Chiron, adding to the healing energy regarding whatever this is with Pluto for each of us. And so there might be some things that might require action and initiative on your part, but by doing so, can be very healing and very therapeutic. So Mars is getting this contact with Chiron. Mars is our assertive side, our initiating side. And so anything that feels constructive, yet there's a wound around it regarding confidence, assertiveness, independence, doing that stuff in the face of any wounds with balance can be very healing, very therapeutic. Now, this is, of course, going to be minor to the Mercury square since it is involving Chiron, which is more of a comet. But nonetheless, we can see that there is some healing energy. And this is likely going to be the result of Thursday as a result of Friday. As we start to ease up out of Friday, we will likely feel transformed, more empowered with our minds and communications with the Mercury square, and more healed with our confidence and independence and assertiveness with the Mars opposite Chiron. So there's definitely a transformation happening here. It is involving both the mind and the the fire, let's say, with Mars, and anything we can do to, again, do that kind of healing or depth, truth, constructively really supports and facilitates this transformative energy and healing energy coming into Saturday. Now, Friday is where we will start to feel more of the Cancer energy, by the way. So Friday and Saturday, just Friday, so late Thursday and Friday, will be good for creating a protective environment for ourselves. So connecting with our feelings and caring for ourselves is very important when moon's in Cancer, but also externalizing it as well. Nurturing, caring, and protecting for others could be a great way of facilitating this energy. Okay, and then as we ease up out of that into Saturday, the moon will go into Leo, starting to complete the current lunar month. So the new moon will be early next week. And so it is good to let the energies die down a little bit, maybe complete some things from this past 3 or 4 weeks from this lunar cycle, and create some space for those new beginnings around the corner. We also do come into some easy energy here, especially lifting off of that square, one of which is, it's mild, Venus sextiling Pluto. That could be some easier to connect deeply in relationships, easier to enjoy the deeper dimensions with that. And as we do get into Sunday, Mercury trining Jupiter. So not only is Mercury easing up off of the square with Pluto, the ruler of the underworld, but then starts to get a nice support from the more expansive Jupiter, seeing the bigger picture, looking at life, again, maybe communicating things like philosophies, outlooks on life, maybe doing some adventurous things with those routines, again, all with flexibility and adaptability, letting our minds and our horizons expand a bit is a great way of working with Sunday. And there is that healing energy with Chiron. Again, this is the more minor aspects, but if there is anything that maybe involves self-expression or fun or playfulness, that could be healing. Great to do that stuff. And again, the moon in Leo will be placing an emphasis on that for the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, around self-expression, doing the things we love, we find enjoyable, we're passionate about, right? And letting that inner child out a little bit with the moon here. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. It really is a mouthful. There really is a lot going on, but simply put, we are ending the current lunar cycle, at least approaching that this week, but coming into the week, great for action and initiative as we're in that third quarter phase, implementing things from a week ago. Do that with flexibility, of course, with the Mercury retrograde, rethink, readapt, right? Have a plan A, B, C, and D. We do get into some of that deeper energy with Mercury, with our minds and communications that can be very empowering, very constructive to learn and share what really matters at the end of the day and the truth and the depth of life. Feeling likely more healed and transformed as a result of that, going into the weekend to, again, complete the current lunar month. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't yet. If you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insider's newsletter, there's a link down below. You do get these videos released at least a few days before the week. So check that out if you're not yet signed up. But again, thank you so much. Have a great one. And I'll see you all next time for the next weekly forecast. Take care.